Well, I mentioned this earlier. It's been a very tough week for many residents in Victoria following those wild storms that really wreaked havoc across the state. But this revelation today by the Herald Sun just beggars belief. I mean, Victorians who needed urgent police help during Tuesday's bushfire, storm and blackouts waited for almost 6 minutes for 000 calls to be answered, according to leaked internal records. Now, joining me to discuss this and much more is our Friday regular Victorian Liberal MP Sam Groth, who also happens to be shadow spokesman for events in Victoria. I guess, Sam, that means you get to go and see Taylor Swift live, is that right?
Well, Steve, thank you for having me again. I'll start with that. I'm going to head to Taylor on Sunday night, so I'm one of the lucky, couple of 100,000 Victorians or visitors that are going to go there. Can we touch on the other stuff, though, because it has been a big week for Victorians. And before we get into it, I just want to say our best wishes and thoughts go out to all those Victorians affected by the storms, by the fires and by the power outages that we've seen since Tuesday. I think it's important just to recognise that on the political side of this, yes, there is an argument to be had, but there's also that personal thing where families, where businesses, where people are genuinely affected by this. And we just want to send our wishes and thoughts and anything we can do to help those people.
100%, and we'll get on to the fragility of the power grid in a minute, Sam, but this story today in the Herald Sun about waiting 6 minutes if you dial 000, I would have thought if you're in the middle of, there was 120 kilometre-hour winds, or you had a bushfire headed your way, or you were completely blacked out, with dodgy mobile phone coverage, you don't want to be standing there for 6 minutes. That would seem like an eternity.
No, it's just another failure for the 000 system. We know it's had historical failures. There needs to be proper investment into 000 to make sure when people do need to call the emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, the SES, whatever it is, someone is available to take their call. There was 200 people on hold waiting to get through. It was 23 minutes. You talk about the storms, 23 minutes for people to get through to the SES, to get people there so they could get the assistance they needed. We had in peak time, between 9 and 13 people answering calls. There's more people answering the phone at Pizza Hut or Domino's to take your order. I mean, it's not like the government didn't know this was coming. They had advance warning. They had at least 24 hours. They knew this was going to be the first day where there was a chance of catastrophic fires and of storms. The government should have acted. They should have called in the maximum number of people to be able to take these calls so that when people were faced with an emergency, someone was going to pick up the phone.
I just can't believe it. We've been through this, Sam, over and over and over again, and we keep getting told, oh, no, we've recruited all these people. Well, where the hell are they? If you're in the middle of an emergency, and as you rightly point out, a predicted emergency, the Bureau was saying it's going to be somewhere between 36 and 40 degrees, and they actually said in the morning, and I was in Melbourne before it got hot, they said, well, this is going to be the worst day since Black Saturday. You didn't need much more warning than that, did you?
Well, there's no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse for not having the maximum number of call takers available on the 000 call line. It's a failure from this government. 000 needs proper investment. People need to know, and this is just one example, but people need to know when they pick up the phone to call 000, in moments, as you said, it can feel like a lifetime that their call is going to be picked up. And the government will come out and said, well, we're meeting our targets, we're meeting our averages. It doesn't matter if on a Tuesday night, on a normal Tuesday at midnight, they're picking up a call within 5 seconds. What matters is when these catastrophic or these major events happen in our state and people need to call 000, that's when it is the true measure of whether a system is handling the capacity and the load that it needs to. And on Tuesday, the government failed.
Sam, can you explain to me how a bloke who was the COVID commander and then he was appointed the head of the Commonwealth Games, Jerome Waar, keeps getting these state government jobs where this one's paying him $500,000 for 6 months?
I don't have the explanation, Steve. $500,000 jobs for mates once again without a proper process to go through to make sure the best person's being employed. You talk about Jerome Waar. Well, as you mentioned, he was the COVID commander. We all know what a debacle that was. He oversaw the Commonwealth Games, which has cost the state so far $600 million and completely trashed our reputation. And now we're going to pay him $500,000 a year to take on what is probably one of the biggest issues within the state at the moment, the housing crisis. The government's got this fanciful target of 800,000 homes to build over the next 10 years, 80,000 homes a year. And we've got a guy that every single thing that he touches is an absolute mess. He's going to be the one to oversee it with zero experience in housing, in construction, in planning, in any of those things. And he's been handed it without the proper processes. And we know this because Jacinta Allen, the Premier, has admitted herself that these processes haven't been followed properly. So, look, I don't have much confidence in Mr. Waar and his ability, if it's anything to go by the history and the last couple of jobs he has had. But $500,000, it's a lot of money. Once again, another job for another Labor mate.
Taylor Swift, 45 songs, 3.5 hours. You going to last that, Sam, or are you a secret Swiftie there somewhere?
No, I'll last. My stamina's still okay, Steve, at times. I might have to brush up on a few. I know the hits.
Enjoy yourself, mate, and have a good night on Sunday night. That's Sam Groth. He'll be back with us next Friday.